Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions, and certainly all of Kansas City and much of the nation, of course, is consumed with football and Super Bowl. Maybe not so much as it is right here in Kansas City, Super Bowl-centric, to say the least, but music has its place, and in our regular visit with Tim Finn every other Wednesday right here on Danny Clinkscale's Reasonably Irreverent Commentary. A little bit of a Super Bowl feel. We'll look at some of the musical acts from Super Bowls past. We'll also look at the Super Bowl of music, as it were, the Grammy Awards, dominated by a rising young star, a rising young lady we've been talking about a lot over the past year on Danny and Tim's music scene. And, of course, we visit with many of the shows that you can catch up with on a relatively quiet week with all the football being played and the focus on the Chiefs. There's some real good shows out there still to take your mind off Sunday or perhaps get you ready for Sunday, get you fired up for Sunday, whatever you like. It's always a great, eclectic, and fun visit with Tim Finn from In Kansas City Magazine. Of course, you can hear him at 90.9 The Bridge every Thursday with John Hart as well. Read his reviews there. We'll talk about George Strait's recent show at Sprint Center. All that wrapped up into one nice little musical ball, and it comes your way next. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
Hey guys, it's Brian Haney, voice of the Jayhawks, and Matt Llewellyn from the 23rd Street Brewery. Matt, I've got a bunch of buddies coming over to watch the big game, and I need some ideas on what to cook.
Hey, let me handle it, Brian.
You're going to come over and cook for us?
For you? Maybe. But you should just let 23rd Street Brewery cater it. We could bring a big pan of Bill Self mac and cheese, wings, veggies, naked nachos, and anything else you might want.
Great. Well, you want to stick around and watch the game?
No, I've got to get back to the brewery and watch it on the big screen.
The place to get great catering and watch all the games, the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Tim, we had a couple Super Bowls 1 week apart. The Super Bowl of Music, which is the Grammy Awards, and then, of course, we have the Super Bowl this week, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Grammys are not really my favorite award show. Usually there's some really excellent performing and a lot of it. This time it seemed to focus more on the awards than presentation of songs, but certainly the star of the night was Billie Eilish, who, if people hadn't seen her put a stamp on the music industry, they certainly did now, as she did something almost unprecedented.
I think it was unprecedented given where her music came from, how old she is, how she for the most part, coming in, sort of bucked all the music industry trends and proceeded her own way on her terms. Her records were made in a bedroom in her parents' bungalow, where a two-bedroom bungalow, so her parents were sleeping in the living room so they could turn one of their rooms into a studio, and her brother is her producer. He won a Grammy as well. And this is all very organic, homemade, and she did it the way you do it now. She put some music out on the various music platforms. Teenagers, especially girls, but others, alienated teenagers, fell in love with it. She put out another song, and her numbers went up, and put out an EP that went nuts, and then the industry took notice, and she got a lot of interest, and she said, no, I'm good. I'm doing this on my own, and then put out her full length. So she's got a label behind her, but she's so independent, and I think she's 18 now. When I saw her back last year, about a year ago, she was still 17, and her music, the way it's made, the way she sings, the way she carries herself on stage, she's not a normal 17-year-old. She's very precocious. She's very grounded. She was homeschooled, and she's got that sense of it's kind of weird because she sings about depression and alienation and lack of confidence and low self-esteem, but she doesn't really come off that way. I mean,
right.
I mean, she's very comfortable in her own skin, and she's comfortable talking about her weaknesses, which appeals to more than just teenagers. I mean, it's...
Oh, I thought, I hadn't seen or heard much of her music because we had talked a few times. I tried to sample some of it. And watching her perform, I mean, it seems very adult. I mean, even though its appeal initially was to teenage girls, it seems like this is an artist and a performer who, if she deems something she wants, can go on for a long, long time.
Right, and she's very much, unlike a lot of women, young adult women artists in music, she's very much about asexuality and androgyny. She wears very baggy clothes. She's not about sexuality, although some of her music addresses romances and crushes. And, one of her more controversial songs is like, I think it's called I Wish You Were Gay. It's because she has a crush on someone, and it's unrequited in her. She's saying, well, I hope it's because you're not attracted to women. And it's not that you're not attracted to me. But so... that's about as much as she gets into, love and romance and sex. But I could see her being around for a long time because I watched Taylor Swift evolve, and her fans have come with her. She's 30 now, or close to it. And I could see her fans, and Billie Eilish has so many adult fans in their 20s and 30s that... she was the second person to win four big Grammys,
right?
Which is, great news for her. It hasn't happened since 1981. But the guy who did it was Christopher Cross, who hasn't done anything since then. But,
right.
So I don't see her going that way. I mean, there was also a time Lauryn Hill went nuts for her record. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill won a ton of Grammys that year. And she did nothing after that, really. And actually has gone through some pretty significant mental health issues. But I just get a feeling that Billie Eilish's music isn't a fad. It's not fleeting, and that she's going to be around for a while. She seems to have a lot of ideas, and she just seems really grounded. Yeah,
and she seems she has a great creative partner in her brother. Now, that's probably one thing that'll be interesting in the music industry. It's always interesting to see, relationships like that, how they evolve, whether they survive, things of that nature. But they seemed very close and grounded in a setting where you're getting awards, but
right.
It seems like a good tandem.
Right, and I mean, they're very close. He's part of her live performances. Her parents are part of her crew. And yeah, I know it's a sibling thing, but the industry or the label wanted to provide its own producers, and she was adamant, like, no way. I'm not going to fix what's not broken. This is how we're going to do it.
Absolutely. So a sensation certainly at the Grammys. Now, even if Billie Eilish has staying power, she'll probably have to wait about 30 years to perform at the Super Bowl, because that's kind of what the Super Bowl does. And, of course, this year it'll be J-Lo, and now they've turned it into a thing where there's usually, 75 people up on stage. The remarkable thing to me, I've been to the Super Bowl to work on many occasions, but I only stayed for the game once. It was when Pittsburgh beat Arizona, and Bruce Springsteen played that time. It's remarkable what they are able to do within a halftime. I mean, incredible that they can put up a stage, and the performances are indeed live.
Before and during the game, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, just amazing. And there have been some great performances through the years, and some that obviously, wardrobe malfunction. We've had all kinds of different things.
The only Super Bowl I attended was 2004, and it was the Janet Jackson.
Whoa, how about you?
I just went for fun, yeah. I didn't care about either team. Of course, we rooted against the Patriots because the Patriots.
That's what you do.
Right. But yeah, there was a huge show. Like Toby Keith played, and before the show, there was somebody else, like maybe Kid Rock, I don't know. And then it was, we really didn't. We watched them set up and tear down. Like that was crazy. Bring people onto the field, and we watched the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake thing. But it was we were not really paying attention, and we couldn't see it really close up unless you watched the screen. So we had no idea what happened and what was going on until really the next morning. I got a text from my wife. At the time, she was like, "Did you see it?" Or I was just like, "Yeah, well, sort of." And I didn't know what she was alluding to. And we woke up the next morning, and all they were talking about was the halftime show, not really the game. But yeah, we watched them put up and tear down so fast. It's really impressive. Yeah,
it is remarkable, and there have been some great performances through the years. U2 was fantastic. I mean, Tom Petty's played. It's usually iconic acts, Billy Joel, things like that. So it kind of, it makes for a super long halftime for the football teams. I know that, but it's something of a landmark for artists to play the Super Bowl.
Well, the one exception to the Heritage acts or the classic rock acts or Hall of Fame acts was when Bruno Mars played a few years ago.
Right.
And I heard from so many people, readers, when I was at the Star, like, where did this guy come from? And these were people in their 50s and 60s who loved his sort of retro, old school R&B soul, and yeah, so that boosted him a lot because after that, he was playing full arenas. Maybe we'll play in stadiums coming up because his last show at the Sprint Center, he could have played 2 or 3 nights in a row. The demand for tickets was so high, but that's sort of an exception. But one of the reasons the reaction was like the way it was because he kind of does old school stuff. He wasn't doing
very much so.
Yeah.
Just a side journey here. How do you often consume the Super Bowl, and how different will it be for you as a Chiefs fan? This time, a lot of people think, well, I usually go to a party or something, but I want to watch the game this time. So you have plans for the Super Bowl?
Probably stay at home.
Yeah, I think I'm going to also.
Daughters and I, they're both huge Chiefs fan. I'm sort of see, I grew up liking another team.
Yes.
But I'm behind this team for a lot of reasons. And for me, there's really nothing to dislike about them. There have been reasons before.
Sure.
Like Carl Peterson, I don't know. And the whole Pioli regime and Todd Haley.
Yeah,
and, but, I mean, Andy Reid is one of my favorite coaches in sports. And I think just the personnel on the team, there aren't many guys to dislike.
Right.
And I think a lot of that comes now, especially with the guy playing quarterback who is about as straight and polite and well-mannered and humble as they come. And so there's a lot to like about them. My kids are completely into it. They're just going nuts about it. So
that's fun.
And a lot of my close friends have been waiting this, so I'm 100% behind the Chiefs. And I hope because I know some New England fans who resent the Chiefs now, and I know Skip Bayless, I want them to win just so he has to eat, whatever on his show. So, yeah, I want to be home. And the last time I saw them, the Patriots game last year, and I was in a really crowded bar up in Liberty, and it was distracting, and people were just going crazy, and then there was a fight afterwards, and so it was. I'm good. I'm just going to stay home. I think it's like New Year's Eve,
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, in the last couple of weeks since we last talked, you saw one of your favorites, George Strait, and he certainly, from the likes of your review, which people can get in Kansas City Magazine always, he had it. He had it, and his band had it, and I guess you were glad that it wasn't a retirement tour the last time around.
Right. And like nothing has changed. His shows are there's a ritual to them, and so there's no surprises, and it's kind of like watching someone put quarters into a jukebox. There's not much chatter at all between songs. There's thank you, and you might introduce a song for 15 seconds or less, but that means he does like 30 songs in 2 hours, like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and gives everybody in the band spotlight, but it's not 2.5 minutes or 3 guitar jam. It's like 45 seconds or 60 seconds, but it's impeccable lead, whatever, or whether it's pedal steel or mandolin or guitar. So everybody gets a shot, and he's very generous like that. And the songs he sings don't demand a lot of his voice. Mm-hmm. Like his voice doesn't have a lot of range, and it's not a lot of power, but it's perfect for the songs he sings. And I love his voice. And like Amarillo by Morning is one of my favorite songs, and he very good kills that every time. I did some songs that I hadn't heard him sing before, like High Tone Woman. This is a great song. He did that for the first time, and I've probably seen him 6 or 7 times. And the best part for me, and I knew it was coming because I'd seen some set lists, was the cover of Tom Petty and Heartbreakers, You Wreck Me. And it was interesting, like I was telling you before. I knew it was coming. I thought it might not, because he had changed up the set list a little bit, before this song in the encore. So I was waiting to be disappointed, like he might skip it. But he didn't. And you could tell when they played the opening chords to that some people were not catching what it was. But the guy next to me knew right away. I don't know if he was expecting it. But and then when he started singing the lyrics, you could feel it, like gradually people figuring out what it was and like going, what George is doing, Tom Petty, this is amazing. And it was. They absolutely did it complete justice. It was so good.
What was this vocal style? Because Tom Petty is a very unique singer.
Yeah, but they're kind of in the same range. Like Petty doesn't have his voice is
right.
He's not doing any falsetto or anything much.
No.
So, and I was surprised how perfectly it fit. Like, and he didn't sound like Petty, but man, that band is as good as the Heartbreakers for sure. And it's just like it was flawless. It was absolutely nothing. I would buy a recording of it. It was that good.
Well, I'd love to hear it because that's my favorite Tom Petty song, and maybe because it's not one of his biggest hits or whatever, that's why people didn't recognize it. But when I read the other thing that jumped out when I read your review was that he's had over 60 number one hits in country charts. I think you said 5 dozen or something like that.
Number one or top 10, but it might be number one for sure, because he's been recording since the 80s, 90s,
I think it
2000s.
said number one.
Yeah, okay. So he's been that would be 5 every decade, or
right.
No, I don't know. It's
right.
A lot of them are like he'll put a song on a greatest hits album and it goes to number
you could
one.
do 1 or 2 a year.
Right.
I mean, the way that
right.
and we're talking the country charts too. So
right, yeah.
I mean, that's just whatever.
Because he's done like 30 something full length, just studio albums. Yeah,
yeah. That's amazing. I mean, it is, and how do you like? The other part was that how do you like when somebody plays in the round, and should it be done more often, less often, whatever?
Well, it means you can sell more tickets,
right?
And there really aren't any bad seats because he went to every corner of the stage, and
is there any downside to it?
I mean, I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, other than sometimes you're getting his backside,
right, right,
which you're not getting if he's facing forward to
everybody,
everyone.
Right?
So, but I don't know. There are enough things to look at on the stage because he's got 11 other people on there facing different directions, and there's a video. It's very primitive. Like there's not a lot of visual flash or anything. It's he sets it up like he's in some honky tonk and playing like he did 40 years ago.
That would be perfect for sure. Iconic person coming to Kansas City and killing it once again before 18,000 people.
2 nights in a row, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the shows that are coming up around the area that you can catch over the next week or so. Tim always does that at In Kansas City Magazine as well, and his Tim Finn's Top 5 Can't Miss Concerts. And obviously you can always hear Tim 4 o'clock on Thursdays with John Hart on 90.9 The Bridge as well, and every other week here at Danny Clinkscale's Reasonably Irreverent podcast and our Arts and Lifestyles Wednesday presented by Cinematic Visions.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Are you thinking of starting a new business? Does your current business feel stuck? Or are you just trying to grow what you already have? Running a business is a lot of work, and it takes the right team to make it all happen. If you're looking to grow your business, call my friends Ben and Greg over at Fuego Consulting. They put together a company that can help you reach your business goals. Whether you're looking to get online, build a social media strategy, or rebrand your business, they can help. Call Fuego at 816-663-9695 or visit them online at fuegoconsulting.com. Fuego Consulting. Let's grow your business together.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Tim, as usual, we have things that are all across the board, eclectic, to talk about among your selections for the top 5 shows. On Thursday at the Record Bar, Surf Curse, playing some surf rock tunes. And surf rock is a very interesting genre. I like surf rock music, but it can be done in a variety of different ways. What about Surf Curse?
You could listen to this and say, well, where's the surf rock? Because they embed it among other flavors and genres. But it's in the guitars. The spirit of surf rock is in their music. But what I like about it, and I think you'll like it too, is it's a very poppy. It's very catchy. Immediately you fall into its energy, very groovy stuff, and sort of punky, poppy, surf, garage rock. It's a little bit of everything, you know. Because after listening to 5 songs, the songs are different. But I guess the theme going through it is they're very like riff happy, and you know, it's sort of like they took some of the components of surf rock and added other elements and traits, and it's kind of, I'm not gonna say it's unique, but it's refreshing. And then the band opening for them is good. It's a good fit for them. They're from Lawrence, I think, Mama's Boy. Yeah, they're from Kansas City, and yeah, it's like punk and garage rock. It's all stuff I like. Anything with that's a little rough, like I said, rough and melodic and groovy, and you know, bounce to it, dance to it, whatever, bob your head to it.
Yeah, that sounds cool. And the month wraps up on Friday night at the Arvest Bank Theater at the Midland with Granger Smith, sort of a contemporary what country music is right now type of guy, but with a little less of the dollop of bro country on it.
So much braggadocio, or yeah, I think it's, if you want to say there's a respectable flavor of bro country, he would fall into that category. It is a lot of tales of small town life, and you know, he's got a drawl and got an easy voice, and it is sort of about being from the country, which is one of the things that bothers me about a lot of contemporary country, is modern country, is that it's all about I'm country. Like, this is what you didn't hear George Jones or, you know, Conway Twitty, or it's so very self-referential that it gets to be annoying. And like, and if you're not country if you don't do this, and why exclude me from your music by telling me there's something wrong with me because I grew up in the city? But anyway, so he's, yeah, I mean, I listened to 5 or 6 songs, and it's it's good stuff. He's well known.
He's playing the Midlands, so
yeah. I hadn't heard of him before.
You're right. I have not heard of him either.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, this is sort of like maybe coincidentally because it's Super Bowl week. There's not a lot going on this week, so I was looking for things I might not have otherwise written about, but it gave me a chance to explore bands I hadn't heard of. And I would say he's respectable. Like if I were to review this, I think I would probably get something out of it.
There's 3 interesting and different shows on Saturday night for people to choose from. I don't know if in the original thoughts about the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, you would have said the Squirrel Nut Zippers are going to play at the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts. But certainly they are a great and eclectic act and been around a long, long time, 27 years. And Kaufman Center has done a good job of really being expansive as far as who they have as
right. I mean, I'm not surprised to see anybody on their
anymore
on their calendar anymore, because I've seen Kansas there. I've seen Lyle Levis played there, Randy Newman, but I've seen Culture Club played there. So they're bringing in rock bands or bands that from pretty much every genre. David Byrne played there in 2018. So and it's a great place to see music. On the radio, on our radio show last week, we talked to a local band that played there for some event, and asked them how it was, and they both said, well, it was so good that you kind of never want to play another place again. It's just everything about it. It's like overwhelmingly good. And it's that way when you watch shows there. And I think we got into the discussion of how they accommodate acoustically bands that are amplified, because you don't really need a lot there.
Right.
And I think they figured it out, and they said nobody was complaining about it because they had some percussion and they toned everything down. But I guess my point being, it's there's no worries about the sound, I think, anymore.
No,
because both of these bands playing there, the Squirrel Nut Zippers and the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, they're going to be loud and rowdy, but so much fun. Like this is going to be, I hope they let you stand because you're going to want to move. Like it's that invigorating.
Well, that's one of the things that I find interesting many times at concerts, even ones where the people clearly are enjoying the music. I'm like, how are you sitting still? At this, this is rocking out. Right. I literally will make what I would consider I'm making a fool of myself right now, but I can't sit still. I mean, how are you doing this?
Right.
That often crosses my mind when I'm at a show or watching a great band that's really, rollicking and, having a great time.
It was like that for Culture Club, and the crowd there, nobody was going to sit down. And if anybody was going to complain about people standing up, well, sorry. Because they're super groovy, super soulful. I mean, half the guys on the band are jumping around on stage, so it was a very contagious. So, I don't know. I mean, I remember being at a David Byrne show at the Uptown, and people behind us were complaining. I just moved back to avoid the argument, but it's like, come on, stay home and listen to the records.
Agreed. It's part of going to a concert is the visceral feeling that you get from seeing a band. Also Saturday night, the Bottleneck, a band that probably seemed like it was headed somewhere at the turn of the century, which is a phrase that sounds weird to say now in the 2000s, but the anniversary. They were founded in Lawrence or were going along pretty well, and then, as happens in the music industry, after a couple great records and maybe some success, they didn't handle it that well, I guess, and now we're back together having a good time playing music.
Yeah, it's very like they get together like once. Well, this is only the second time they've gotten together since they broke up, like in 2004. Yeah, they put out 2 really good records that were very different from each other, and the first one was really catchy indie pop, very keyboard guitar driven. Lots of harmonies, really good. And then for the second record, Your Majesty, it was more ambitious, kind of more not orchestral, but it was just
polished,
and sort of a broader scope as far as the songwriting went. I sort of compare it to the Zombies when they went from being sort of a garage to Oracle and the Odyssey, or is it Odyssey and Oracle? I always get that mixed up. But a really, really sensational sort of concept record, and just very,
very interesting.
I love it.
The Zombies and Rod Argent, love their stuff. And I actually, I think I've referenced Jules Holland on here. It's a show that sometimes is showed on what's called MTV Live now. I don't know if it's produced anymore even, but the Zombies were on there, probably the show was done in 2016 or something. The guys are quite old, but they were great. I mean,
they were down in South by. Maybe that was the year I saw them, or it was the year before. It was right around that time. But they were fabulous. Like, I was wondering, because I saw them do they did a panel discussion, and just talked about coming up in that age in the '60s and all the influences that they had to deal with, including the Beatles, just being in the middle of all that, and what it meant to try to succeed and be noticed in the middle of all that. It was a really interesting discussion, and then that persuaded me to go see them. But I was watching them going, are they going to be able to pull it off? I mean, they weren't like in their 80s by any means,
no,
but it was
they're a good 70-something.
Mm-hmm. But they have stayed in shape, yeah.
Right, absolutely. And by the way, the anniversary of the band, I don't know if you can come up with a better title for an album than Designing a Nervous Breakdown. Right. That's a pretty cool title. I mean,
and they will do that record in its entirety because it's the 20th anniversary of that record, and then do Cuts Off Your Majesty for the second set. Everybody in the band's really really good at what they do. I'm friends with Adrienne, the keyboard player, who's got married, moved to San Francisco. She's a music teacher out there, and she's got a band with her husband. Really cool. She studied at the Paseo Academy here, got her degree in vocals, and she plays a bunch of instruments. Like, everybody in the band is very accomplished, and they take what they do seriously, and they pull it off live really well.
And finally, at the Arvest Bank Theater at the Midland once again, Trippie Redd, just a 20-year-old rapper, but obviously he has, in a couple of years, made a tremendous impact.
Yeah, and he's this is another show because I have not listened to this. I've read about him. He's been in some trouble a little bit.
What? So, a rapper in trouble?
Well, or a country guy or whoever. I mean, there's right. There's trouble all over music, but
true.
He but he's melodic, which is
what. I don't want to sound, this is going to sound like the, get off my porch type of thing, but when rap sort of became prevalent, there was a lot of melody.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And now it's more about a hardcore message a lot of times, which I think is, it's reflective of people's upbringings and what they have experienced. And so but I appreciate when it's melodic too, because it's music. You're supposed to have melody, at least me.
Like what I wrote in here from a review of his last record, which is just exclamation point. He defines himself by his melodies. He cites Kiss and Nirvana as influences, and her songs are predicated on him finding a tune and then freestyling the lyrics. I mean, I love that concept, and you can hear it. I mean, the hip hop I didn't grow up with because.
Right.
My adolescence preceded it, but I was attracted to like A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and Public Enemy and KRS-One, and there was stuff where there was music sort of carrying.
Right, it's carrying the day, not just a little small part of what you're doing,
and there's usually like a vocal sing-along part. But
I should know this, and I thought of it the other day while I was doing some work. When you just sample something, do you like reach out and ask, or do you have to pay, or what?
Both, yeah. Or if you don't ask and it's found out, you'll pay even more. Because you look at if you look at the liner notes, which maybe they don't have them anymore, I don't know, but you'll see like the Beastie Boys, they sampled so many stuff, and you look in the credits, there's like boop 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 boop,
right.
So yes, you can't just do it for free.
Okay, I didn't think so, but sometimes it's just such a small part that you're like,
especially
is there on the radio, you're not supposed to play bump music for more than a certain amount of time,
right.
a certain length of time, and you have to pay ASCAP anyway, but you would end up being in violation if you played 2 minutes of a song or something.
That might come into play here, but I don't think it can be throughout the song because you're using it for too long. But I mean, then there's obvious things like the Puff Daddy or P Diddy would that use the Police song "Every Breath You Take."
Right.
That's an obvious one, and obviously the Sting or the Police get a big chunk of the publishing.
Right, that's sinews through almost the entire song,
right.
basically. So that's I heard that one the other day, as a matter of fact. Tim, it's always a pleasure. Enjoy your family Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Well, my kids are saying they're going to swing by, but they may end up going to a place that's too loud and rowdy for me. So if I don't see them before the game, I'll see them after.
There you go. All right, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Danny.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.